Well, joining us now is blogger Harriet Shearsmith and parenting journalist Sally Peck. You both have very different views on this already. Sally, let's come to you first. So this Australian blogger says, look, it doesn't bother me. Words are just words. Actually, they're in one ear, out the other. They just create a bit of a moment and they're gone. And actually, if you're behaving nicely to each other, what's the big deal?
OK, well, first of all, I do agree with her that actions are more important than words. But if you look at these words, a lot of them have histories in being insults to women or to minority groups or to disabled people. So actually, words they carry a heavy load with them. And if you look at what your children... Well, and another issue is, why are the children doing it? They're copying you. So I think this is a moment for parents to say, is this really the example I want to be leading? And even if you don't think words are a big deal, a lot of people out there do. So what I do with my kids is I say, OK, even if we don't care about language so much, a lot of people will, and you want them to hear the content of what you're saying. So if you pepper it with so many naughty words which will offend other people, they're not going to care what you're actually saying. They're going to listen to that. And I think that really weakens their arguments.
So that's an interesting one, isn't it, Harriet? My 8-year-old Billy used a word. I don't think he really knew what it meant. It's quite a common swear word. And I said, oh, you can't say that. And he said to me, why not? Who said that that word is not acceptable and this, the alternative version, is acceptable? Who said that? And then it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because actually, who did say that?
I think that's a really good point. And to build on what Sally has just said, yes, some of the words are steeped in oppression, and I do think we have to be a bit careful with that. But we also have words that are still deemed acceptable by society, that are not swear words, that people use an awful lot, that are steeped in oppression. And some of the most abhorrent words in our language were originally just words. So I think from that point of view, are we creating more of a faff around these words than we need to, when realistically they're not that big a deal?
It just doesn't sound nice, does it?
It doesn't,
well, it's not so much that. It's, you know, the Constance's point is that she prizes kindness more. Now, it's unkind to offend people. Just because you're not bothered by the words, you have to be aware that others around you are bothered in the same way as you might mind chucking your litter on the floor, but others are bothered by it. So it's actually about teaching your child to be aware of other people's feelings, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and that's an important lesson. So it's all in context. I think what I would teach my children is that if they stubbed their toe, why is shouting something like fluff less offensive than the alternative, which we all know and we won't say? But why is that less offensive? It's about context. And if you were to say to somebody something offensively, you were to use the term aggressively, that's very different, and that's something that we should be teaching our children.
But everyone's measures of that are quite different. Another thing Constance says is that she uses naughty language all the time, but she's very clear to her kids that they can't.
I am as well.
But I think that's ridiculous, because if I'm drinking a glass of wine, I can say to a 5-year-old, your body's not able to handle the alcohol in this, therefore you can't have it. But I just think you're going down a really dangerous slope if you say, I can do this, but you can't.
Yeah, but
just because I'm old.
Except, there's like somebody else here says, I'm 56 and I never heard my grandparents or my mum swear. My mum still frowns at me if I do. And there's something about that in that we all, well, maybe you not, Sally, but we all swear, but there are certain people in front of whom I would never swear, including my family and so on, just because it's just you know, and I've grown up knowing that. Yes, exactly.
So it's a sign of respect.
That's a good point. It is, but that's a really good point, you see, because you know that it would upset them. So again, it's steeped in being kind, it's steeped in realising when that context is appropriate. But also, if you know that that's going to upset them, is a child really old enough to understand that? If my son comes to me and says, actually, Mummy, can I use this word? My first question would be, well, why do you want to? And if he can't answer that, then he's not old enough to use that language. I do explain to them that these are adult words, but also I think you have to understand that it's much more important if my child says a swear word.
Is a bit of it, though, that actually what we're worried about as well is somebody judging our child and indeed judging us as parents.
Yes.
Yes, but if they're judging our children and judging them to be rude, they're going to discount them. And if that happens in school, I mean, look, you know, there are sometimes reports of schools excluding someone for using naughty language, and I think that's definitely...
Do you think that's going too far?
Too far. This is just language. What we need to do, and I think what you're saying about it as well, is have conversations around this. Why does it matter? what in our family makes this matter and what makes it matter to other people. But yeah, no, exclusion is definitely way too far.
Shall we find out what you've been, what your view is? You've been voting on this in our poll. Well, we asked you, is it ever okay to swear in front of your children? 34% yes, but 66% said no. I wonder if we also asked the question, have you?
Yes.
Well, it's interesting that people still don't approve, which is maybe refreshing.
Interesting. OK, thank you both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.